A cop and an ex-con walk into a podcast. This is gonna be good. Two different lives, same struggles.
An incarcerated individual at Buena Vista Correctional Facility. This call is subject to recording and monitoring. To accept this free call, press 1. To refuse this free call, press thank you for using Securus. You may start the conversation now.
Hey, what's going on?
What's going on, brother? How you doing, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. Just sitting here with my friend, and we had just started up, so I didn't tell her nothing. I wanted to surprise her. So, if you got a quick minute, so Christine,
Yeah.
this is my friend Chris. Chris has been locked up for about, what have you been, 10 years now?
8.5.
8.5. So this is his second time in prison, though, to let you know.
Uh-huh.
The first time he did do 10 years.
Yeah.
This time he is in there for drugs again, and now he's in there. I think he's a little over 8 years now. It'll be about almost 9 years by the time he gets out. He's up for parole, or he's up for the halfway house next summer.
Okay.
But I thought, what an opportunity to bring him on here with you, and maybe you can ask him some actual questions, since that's kind of where we were at with this
Yeah.
interview, and then why he got a couple minutes with us, and I thought it'd be a treat for you.
Well, it is a treat for me, and I'm super excited. It is a pleasure to get to talk to you, Chris. And you knew that I was going to be super excited about this, didn't you?
I did.
Ah, ma'am, I am elated. This is wild. This is so cool. Ah, this is cool. So, Chris, did Mark tell you a little bit about me?
No, not really. I think he said you were
Oh,
a police officer, like in Arkansas or something.
I am. Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever been this way? Have you ever been to Arkansas?
That is the only thing he told me about you. I just looked your name right now.
So, how do you feel about talking to a cop?
It doesn't bother me at all. Growing up,
Okay.
my best friend's dad was a cop, so
Interesting.
it's not something that bothers me. I mean, I grew up around, police officers and people like that, so I don't know. It doesn't bother me at all.
Okay. Well, it's so nice to get to talk to
Asking
you.
me about anything that I committed, no.
I understand. I understand. That makes perfect sense that you can't discuss some of that. Well, all the questions that I'd written down were from Mark.
I can discuss any of my past crimes. I just try not to tell myself, like, if I were to currently be doing anything, which I'm not. I'm in prison right now, but
That makes perfect
I
sense.
have no problem talking about any of my past crimes. I'm kind of an open book. I don't have anything to hide, and I'm more than willing to share whatever information I can.
I gotcha. Well, I'm not one to really harp on the past too much. I think the past is in the past for a very good reason. But I would like to know what your plans are for your future.
Well, like I said, like Mark said, I'm eligible for the halfway house next year. And God willing, and hopefully, that I do get the halfway house and I'm able to go out. When I do get out, um, I don't know, I'm a licensed plumber by trade, so, but I'm also dealing with some health issues. I have two herniated discs in my lower back, and so I don't know, like, exactly how much my body will cooperate as far as, like, going back out and getting back in the construction field and the plumbing and stuff like that. So a lot of that depends, on my health and what I'm able to do physically. But
Hmm.
I'm a plumber by trade. When I get out, um, I will, probably get back into the plumbing field at some point. But I'd also like to go to school. I want to kind of maybe get a full-time job during the day, and then go to school at like a vocational school or something at night, and learn some other things. I enjoy learning. I'm a hands-on learner, so I think a vocational school would be a good opportunity for me to learn something new.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Do you have any plans to do maybe some work with Mark when you get out? Like evangelical, is that the right word?
Yeah,
Is that the word?
we've been friends forever. So given the opportunity, yeah, I will probably go work for Mark for a while and do some tree trimming. and he's been nice enough to offer me the availability to come out and be able to go to work right away. Um, and I've been lucky enough, in life. The last time I was released from prison, I was also able to go to work immediately. I was out 3 days when I had a job, because I had friends who owned their own companies and was able to kind of work around some of the problems that a lot of people face when they get out and trying to find a job. The people that hired me knew me. They had known me for a long time. They knew what kind of person I was, that I was a hard worker and everything like that. So I didn't have to go through some of the struggles that a lot of guys do when they get out and they don't have the same resources or the same skills to be able to just walk out and start a job day one.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm going to correct you like Mark did me. You're not lucky. You're blessed, man. Mark's been turning my verbiage around quite a bit. So I appreciate that. You're blessed. You can see. Yeah.
I have been blessed with a good family and a good support system and good friends that have stuck by me through everything.
That's awesome. Well, I guess one question it seems very stupid to ask it now, but I'm going to ask it anyway because I don't believe there is a stupid question. So, what is the dumbest decision that you've ever made that you thought was a good idea at the time?
Oh man, there's so many of them. Well, I mean, a lot of it maybe, as far as it has to do with my more current history is one of the reasons I got, that I'm back in prison is that I had a false sense of loyalty to people that I shouldn't have had a sense of loyalty to. Loyal to the wrong friends, and I tried to help somebody out that, given the situation, if it was reversed, they wouldn't have helped me, but I tried to help them, and I ended up basically walking into the middle of an indictment.
Do you feel
So
like
I would have just, kind of kept them at an arm's distance, but unfortunately, I don't know, I guess I have kind of a soft heart sometimes, and someone asked me for help, and I agreed to help them, knowing, it's definitely the wrong decision. I did it anyways, and definitely regret it.
do you feel like after spending the first 10 years in prison when you got out that the system had failed you after your release in any way?
Um, I don't feel like it prepared me, that's for sure. Um, like I said, I was blessed to have a good support system. My family stood by me through everything. So um, I had someone who I could turn to when I got out there. And I was able to go to work right away. I definitely never thought I'd be back in prison. And if you ask anyone that knows me or knew me for a while, I was probably the last person they ever expected that would be back in prison. But um, things happen, and unfortunately, I ended up coming back. But I definitely don't feel like they prepare you enough in here to be released, and they don't give you, at least last time when I was released, they definitely don't give you what's necessary to be successful. We'll see this time. Last time, I unfortunately was never able to transition through the halfway house. So I didn't have the opportunity to go and have somewhere that I could go back to and sleep every night and go work and start like that. I literally was kicked out the door. Here's your $100 check. Good luck. You're on parole for 3.5 years. Best of luck to you. And I was definitely completely overwhelmed my first day out. I had so much anxiety. I literally just wanted to go back to prison and wait until everything was set up and ready for me to come out, because I just was so overwhelmed by everything I had to do.
Do you think that is the reason that a lot of people reoffend is because they aren't truthfully set up for success when they get out? Literally, like you're just tossed out into the street to go back to living the life that you used to live?
Absolutely, absolutely. Unfortunately, they talk about rehabilitation, but mostly it's warehousing is what happens in here. You're basically just housed. They do offer some classes and courses in in certain facilities, and they do give you there's limited opportunities to learn something that will be helpful and useful for you when you get out. Um, but it's you really have to want it for yourself, um, and you have to push and kind of force your way into some of these classes and into some of this stuff because they don't make it that easy to um, to get into some of these things sometimes. So a lot of these guys that come out of here, they're uneducated. They come out, they don't have skills, they don't have trades, and they get out there and they're immediately struggling trying to pay bills. And so they go back to doing what they know. And for a lot of these guys, it's dealing drugs or
Mm-hmm.
dealing drugs or robbing people or whatever it is. Well, they go back to how they know to make money, and it's usually illegal.
Yeah. What would you suggest to law enforcement if you could give them one or two suggestions of how they could help people post incarceration? What would it be?
Educating people, getting them trades. Like if there was opportunities, I believe a lot of guys that are in here, people that I know that I talk to, would take that opportunity if they had the opportunity to get out and either learn a trade in here or get out and learn a trade, out there. But also be able, like right now, like transitioning to the halfway house is definitely helpful for a lot of people because they used to charge you rent here, but they don't anymore. So you can actually save up money and get an apartment. And I know me personally, I do better with a structured environment. So because I know where the line is, and I know what rules I can't cross, and things that I have to do. And so it's easy for me to stay within those boundaries if I know what they are. When you get out there and you're no longer confined to parole or community or something like that, the line gets blurred. And then you kind of dance around it sometimes, And so it's tough, especially with a lot of kids that don't get out there and they don't have a support system and they don't have a way to pay their bills when they don't have a legitimate trade or skill to where they can get a job that pays them enough to pay their rent, pay their bills. Because it's hard enough out there if you don't have a criminal record, than somebody coming out with a criminal record trying to do the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything that you want to ask me?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I didn't have a whole lot of time to think about it. You kind of sprung this on me this morning, so I'm not sure. It's just really just nice to talk to you. And what exactly are you involved with out there, if you don't mind me? Like, what kind of things do you do? Like, besides being a police officer, are you involved with any other types of programs to deal with offenders?
So the short answer is no. I would like to be, but I would say that in our area, there aren't a whole lot of programs available, which is something that if I had the money and the means to do, I would get started because that is a very soft spot to my heart. And I will tell you in short a story just while I've got you on here. Roughly 4 months ago, I was standing at our police department, and Mark can fill you in a little bit about how small it is later. But in short, there's only 3 officers that work there. So that should tell you just about how small we are. We had a DOC officer show up at the police department with an inmate. And he walked in the front door and he said, "Hey, I'm dropping him off here with y'all." And I said, "Okay." And I said, "What?" We have no clue what's going on at this point. We don't know who this guy is. We just know that DOC is here and they're saying, "Hey, he's been released. We're dropping him off." And I said, "Why are you dropping him off here? He was in prison almost 2 hours away from where our city is." And I said, "Why did you bring him here?" And he said this was his last known address. So the guy was young. I could tell that he wasn't older than 30. He was actually 28. And I said, "Hey man, like I'm a really friendly person. Like I'm not quick to judge." And I said, "Hey man, tell me a little bit about your story. What's going on? Like what's the situation here?" And he said, "I got arrested when I was 18 for aggravated assault, and he went to prison at 18 in another county. He lived in our city at the time. He was just got out of high school, and he didn't have a good family at all. He said that his family wrote him 3 times the entire time he was incarcerated, but he did day for day because he didn't have any family on the outside that he could parole out to. So he was sentenced to 10 years. He went in when he was 18 as a child and came out as a 28-year-old grown man who had never experienced life outside of a prison from the time he was a kid until he was grown. They gave him a debit card that had $125 on it. It was hot. Like I said, this was back during the summer. Arkansas heat is completely different. It's very humid here. And he said, I'm just going to walk. I'm just going to walk to where my dad lives. And I said, where's that at? And it was 13 miles from town. And I said, there's no way I'm going to let you walk that far. It's too hot. First and foremost, you don't even really remember where you're going. You haven't been here in 10 years. I'm not going to let you do that. So I took him to the ATM. He wanted to pull the money off of his debit card. So I showed him how to use the ATM because he didn't know how, obviously, and showed him how to do that. And he had $125. I said, so what's your plan? And he said, I guess I'm just going to take this money and go to an apartment. And that broke my heart. It absolutely broke my heart because he had back 10 years ago, he might have had enough money to put a deposit down on an apartment, but not now. You don't have enough money to get you a hotel room for the night. You don't have enough money to do anything. And
People out there without criminal records are struggling
yeah,
to pay their bills. Just imagine getting
well,
dropped off exactly like you said, out there with $125 and no skills, and you've been in prison for however long. Like, what
yeah.
do you do?
It broke my heart. I mean, he was a kid. He was still a kid, you know? Like he went to prison 18. He was 18 years old and went to prison and spent the last 10 years incarcerated. But here's the sad part. I drove him out to where his dad lived, and the house was empty. His family had moved, and he had no knowledge of where they were at all. The house was completely, I mean, it was falling in. He said, this is definitely not how I remember it when I left. And I was like, bro, this is so sad. I said, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to take you to the next biggest town? Like, what can I do to help you as a person? What can I do to help you? And he said, if you don't mind, I'm just going to stay here, and I'm just going to go walk around and see if my uncle still lives down the road. And I said, you're grown. You can do what you want, man. And that was the last I saw him. But in that moment, I felt like I failed him, because the system they literally took him from jail or from prison and said, hey, this is the last known place that we knew you lived. Here you go. Here's 125 bucks. Hope you do well. There's not a chance on earth that, for one, he will succeed. He has no way to get a hold of his family. He has no cell phone numbers, no address for them. He has no home at all, and he's got 125 bucks. The first thing he's probably going to do is go steal food because he's going to get hungry. And then he's probably going to break in somewhere because he has nowhere to sleep. We didn't set him up for success to succeed at all. As the justice system, we failed him.
That's the problem. And
Yes.
that's why a lot of the recidivism happens is, like you said, I mean, they just dropped him off. Now he's homeless with $125. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to have to go steal or rob somebody, or he's going to go buy a sack of dope and try to go
Hmm.
make some money selling drugs.
Yeah.
In order just to survive. And he doesn't have a support system, and who knows? Like a lot of these guys burn those bridges with their families, or they come from families where you don't really want to go back to anyways because that's a bad environment just to be in,
Yeah.
period. Because that could have been what the issue was in the first place, is why they came to prison, because they come from a bad environment. So it's tough. And I promise you, being locked up when he was 18 and getting only 28, or mentally, he didn't mature because
No.
he wasn't around people in society to have social relationships to be able to deal with being an adult in any type of
Hmm.
adult capacity or relationship, or how to even talk to somebody as an adult and have that conversation about what he needs. He doesn't even know what he needs at that point. He just knows he needs to find somewhere to sleep and find something to eat.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I will speak from a law enforcement perspective. I fault cops for waiting for someone to go to jail, looking at the jail roster, seeing that they're in jail, waiting for the date that they get released just so they can go serve another warrant on somebody. All right. Do we have a legal responsibility as cops to ensure that the law is served out? Yes, we do. All right. But a lot of times people who are in bad situations, just got out of jail, just got out of prison, just want somebody to believe that they can be better, that they can be better, that they can do better.
Yeah.
And if you are a police officer, law enforcement officer of any type, that you don't see hope for those that have come out of a dark place, then you are part of the problem. And I will tell that to anybody. And that just is how it is. If you look at someone who has been incarcerated for 10 years over a drug charge that they caught when they were a different person 10 years ago, then you are part of the problem. He's got to go.
Yeah, I was trying to
Yeah,
tell you. I think when you were
I'm
talking,
sorry.
it said 1 minute. It's okay.
That
But
sucks. Well, I'm glad I got to talk to him. Thank you for that.
yeah, absolutely. Cause I I was sitting here thinking he calls me like once a month. He's a really, really, really good friend of mine. I've known him for 25 plus years. We were locked up together at one point.
Hmm.
And just briefly, one of his original story is pretty crazy interaction with the police officer. So when I got in trouble with mine, he went to jail right after me. Oh, here he is again. Yeah, he's a good guy.
An incarcerated individual at Buena Vista Correctional
This is
Facility.
real stuff.
This call is
Yeah.
subject to
Well, I mean, he must be a high class inmate if he gets to do,
security.
like phone calls so often, right? He's got
No,
a pretty good class. Huh?
phone's open.
Oh, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah. We'll talk
Neat.
about that.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, well, Chris, I appreciate you calling, brother. I'm gonna finish this podcast out. We got about a half an hour, 45 minutes left on this thing, and then give me a call. Give me a call if you can. I know you said you guys might be on lockdown or something.
Yep. I'll give you a call later on. Appreciate you having me on. Christina, it was nice meeting you. Thank you for your service that you do, and thank you for being compassionate, with people out there that are in need.
Thank you so much. It was nice talking to you, Chris.
Nice talking to you. Mark, I'll talk to you later, brother. I love you guys.
I love you too, bro.
All right, bye-bye.
Yeah, so when you're in there, you get the phones unless somebody messes it up for you. When
Mm,
I did my prison time was 20 some years ago. They don't have they have so much more now.
yeah.
They have tablets, which I'm like blown away about. Like they can make phone
Hmm.
calls from their cell.
Oh, I
It's
didn't know
wild.
that either. That's wild.
Yeah, it's wild. It's so wild. It's
That's cool
unbelievable.
though.
It is. It is. And then so you could do your visits on your tablet now, so you don't have to drive 3 hours to go see your people, stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's pretty cool. But anyways,
a lot
yeah.
more user
So
friendly.
the little backstory on him is so I got in trouble about 20 years ago well 25 years ago when I caught my case. He went to jail right after me, and he
Hmm.
was sitting in the parking lot, um, dropping off some drugs to somebody. That set him up with a drop off, somebody that wanted something, and he trusted the people that said that. But as drug dealers, we're just a little speculate, like, oh, I'm not too sure who this is or what it is. You know what I mean? So he was sitting in the parking lot waiting for the contact to show up, and he looked in his mirror while he was sitting in the driver's seat. Looked in the mirror, and when he looked in the mirror, he sees a guy with a gun creeping up on the side of his SUV. So naturally, he put the car in reverse and reversed right over the guy, and it was a undercover cop, plain clothes.
Oh, wow.
He didn't have his badge hanging. He didn't identify himself, is why he didn't get the guy lived. Um, for those that are watching, the guy lived, but he did get an attempted murder, and he did get several other charges. But because they didn't identify themselves when they ran up to the car, and he had a paid attorney. He told them, I thought I was getting robbed, which was legit. He thought he was set up to drop off some drugs and that they were robbing him.
Hmm.
So his natural instinct was to get away. But um, yeah, it sucks. So
That's
then he
wild.
got 18 years on that one. The first time ever in trouble. Never, like, he didn't have a drug history. He didn't, be honest with you, he didn't really have a drug history until he met me, unfortunately. Um, and he was a professional thief. That's what he was like, and I'm not talking about like low level,
Yeah.
thievery. I'm talking about like high intense thievery. When I'm saying, I'm not talking about like movies, like, stealing rubies and stuff that are under lock and stuff. I'm talking about like, he wasn't like running your store, grab, two DeWalt drills and run out. Like that wasn't his style. Like he was such a good thief. They made an A&E documentary about him and his crew. And
Wow. I'm
yeah,
gonna have to
so
go check that out. That's cool.
so
I
when
know it's
when I
not cool. It's not cool, but it's cool.
I know what you meant. I know what you meant. I mean, I know it's intriguing, right? That's what
Yeah.
this is all about. It's intriguing. Um, so I'll tell you a story real quick. Uh, a funny story how I met this guy. So I go to the house. He has somebody at this house that wants some drugs. I go over there to go drop off some drugs, and I meet him, and I just and not in a weird way, but I fall in love with this dude. Like his heart, his you
Just good
know
people.
good people, man. Like he just treated me the way I wanted to be treated. I always had a weird way about that when I came to somebody's house. I didn't want to be treated as like a crackhead.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like if that makes sense even. You know what I
Yeah, it
mean?
does.
I like people that have respect for me, and I was always like that. That's one of the big things that always drew me back to selling drugs is the respect. And he gave me that when I would come to his house. So anyways, this particular time when I met this guy, I go to his house and he hooks me up with this other guy and I sell the guy the drugs and we're hanging out and doing our thing and I know nothing about this guy. And so I get to know him and he doesn't sell drugs. So I'm even more intrigued that this guy doesn't sell drugs. Well, everybody I know sells drugs. What do you mean? So his thing is stealing. And I'm like, everybody steals, right? Don't they? And he's like, nah, not like this. So he's like, come on, come with me real quick. He goes, I got to go over here to my friend's house. I got to make a couple runs. I got to do a couple things real quick. And, we'll talk some more because we're kind of around a lot of people, which is another reason I like the guy. I don't like being around a lot of people. So we jump in the car and we're driving. We're in this SUV. We're out in this little city and we're cruising. And he says, hey, I got to go over here to my friend's house and pick up the Sea-Doos I bought. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I drive over and he goes, just pull up here. He goes, he left the gate open for me. And I'm sitting in the car, and I was like, you want some help? He goes, no, it's easy, it's easy. Every time I get him, he goes, I just hook him up. It's no big deal. So, all right. So I'm sitting there, and he goes, opens the gate, all calm and could be, and grabs these Sea-Doos, literally lifts it up on the trailer, puts it on the back of my SUV, and we drive off. I didn't race off. I didn't nothing. Closed the gate, locked the gate, got to cruising. We get about, without exaggerating, a couple miles down the road, and he's like, hey, anybody wants to buy some Sea-Doos? I said, oh, your buddy's selling the Sea-Doos? How naive. I've been doing this kind of stuff for 15 years, probably at this point in my life,
Yeah.
right? Uh, I'm like, oh, your buddy's selling the Sea-Doos? He goes, no. He goes, we just grabbed them right now. They're on vacation, and I just took them. Beautiful. They're probably like $8,000 each, the Sea-Doos. And I'm like, that's the kind of like level this guy was at. Like
Yeah. Just like
he would
low key,
still,
just like slip in and slip out.
I mean, I didn't even know, and I mean, pulled the woo on me even. So I was like, man, and I mean, he would get cars. They would steal cars with the key. I don't know if you ever remember going to the car lots, and they have the key box on the car.
Mm-mm.
So back in the day, back in the 90s, we'll say back in the 90s, they used to put the lock box on the car window with the key that went to that car in the lock box.
That's really dumb.
Um, yeah, they don't do it no more. But
Hold on.
so.
My light went out. Oh no. Sorry, it gets dark here, and so I had my hold that thought. I'm gonna grab my. I'll just be climbing around. There we go. Okay. It gets dark
So
early here, and I had my little light on, so it went off.
yeah, it's getting like that here too. So normally they would steal anyways. They would steal these cars from these lots and
Mm-hmm.
with the key to the car and sell the car with the key with the paperwork, and then you'd have about 30 to 45 days before this car was reported stolen when they would do inventory on the car lots. So you're driving brand new cars before they even hit the floors
Yeah.
legally, all that stuff. Like they would get the the demo license plate on the car, and if you're a drug dealer on a different level, driving a brand new car that you couldn't get in trouble in, and
Yeah.
having one
And then if it
every
did get seized, then you didn't lose
yeah,
nothing.
not a big
That's
deal.
crazy.
Yeah, that's the kind of
Shoot,
level.
I mean, you could make well from a I guess a cop to a criminal standpoint, the amount of money that you could make if you were that kind of thief to buy and sell cars to
Yeah.
drug dealers.
So he did.
Oh,
So he did.
okay.
And yeah, yeah. So they did that. They did motorcycles. They did a lot of stuff. They anyways, that's what got him in landed the first time. He got he was into all that, and then he started buying drugs and selling drugs a little bit. Um it's a little bit easier than stealing, believe it or not. So he got into that. He was good at it, and then ran over an undercover cop, plain clothes,
Yeah.
that and got 18 years. He did 10 years on that. Got out. Struggled when he first got out, but he never used though when he got out. I'll give him that. He never used. He stayed sober the whole time. We hung out all the time. I went with him to go buy his first motorcycle, legit. I went with him when he went and bought his first house. Um, so he did all that on his own. Like he did
Yeah.
really good for himself for the way he was talking. Like he did struggle, but he's got a good head on his shoulders. So
Hmm.
he ran into some problems. Like he said, I think that was the best way to put it. He trusted the wrong crowd. Uh, it was real hard for him to cut ties with people that he knew from the past.
Yeah.
Which one of the things I didn't like. Me, if you're not doing the right thing, um, you're
Hmm.
out. I don't got time for that. I don't got room for that. So he got wrapped up like that. He got in trouble. He was at a diner, um, allegedly was at a diner with like a half pound of methamphetamine and a pistol in the backpack. Feds came up and let the air out of his tires, and he thought some guy was just letting the air out of his tires while he was sitting there eating. And yeah. So he jumped up and went outside to go yell at the dude, like, "What the hell you doing?" And they drew down on him in the parking lot. And
Wow.
he had a backpack on him and had a gun and dope in it. So, and then he was already part of a RICO, um, uh, organized crime act that they put together in Colorado, which we call the COCA Act, Colorado Organized Crime Act in Colorado, which that starts off at the minimum of 25 years.
Holy
And
crap.
so him and like I think 15 people got indicted, something like that.
So he's
And
going to be on parole for quite a while, huh?
yeah, well, we only get the maximum we can get is 5 years parole out here in
Oh,
Colorado.
really?
Yeah, so it's three or five, somewhere in between there. I think they even have a year, but I think you got to be a really low level offender to get a year. Um, but they'll give you 5 years. Um, and then so I think this time he'll probably get 5 years. He'll get 5 years parole. Um, but he just called me like the other day and he's like, "Hey man, I think I'm finally eligible for the halfway house." I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
It's been a long time. I bought my house about 9 years ago, and right when I bought my house, he went to prison. So
Dang.
yeah, it's wild.
Man,
Yeah, I thought you'd like that. That was pretty
I
cool.
did. I very much enjoyed that.
Yeah,
Very much.
I told my wife, I said, I think I'm gonna tell Christine about 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 Chris calling in. I said, you know what? After church, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna surprise her because I think
Yeah.
that's
That was cool.
yeah,
It
it
was
was good.
cool. But I mean, seriously, dude, after that kid just got dropped off at our doorstep, like I never thought about it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I worked at the prison for a very short amount of time, but I never once thought to myself like, hey, what happens after they get out? I'd never been to prison. I didn't, you know what I'm saying? It was never a thought for me. And I've obviously, being a cop, we deal with people that are on parole all the time. That's not uncommon, but that dude really, like, it just hurt my heart. And I even told, my boss, I was like, what could we have done different? And there's nothing that we could have done differently to have helped him at
right.
all. I mean, short of taking him to either the hospital or the jail, he had a little piddly misdemeanor warrant out of our department, you know, and I actually think that we didn't even do anything with it. I think we just had it dismissed because I mean he'd been incarcerated for 10 years. Like
Yeah,
what are we supposed to do? Well, you can't get blood from a turnip, you know that. But I do wish for one that more law enforcement had a heart to help people like
yeah,
that. And that's not something I can change either. I can try to influence their heart, but I can't change their heart. I wish all day that they had a heart for it, but I mean, most cops look at people that have been incarcerated like the bad apples that they're never going to change. They can't do better. the unfavorables, as you would call them, or lifers. And that's no way to look at somebody. If you continuously tell people that already have a self-esteem issue, chances are about it, or some sort of, I don't know, what's the word, where you're insecurity, maybe
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
right word.
Insecurity.
Insecurity about it. If you tell them that they can't ever do better, or you're just, for lack of a better word, dicking them down every time you see them, then they're not going to do better
Yeah.
at all. And I just, I truly wish that there was something we could have done to have helped him. And I know that he's not the only one. He's not the only person that ever happens to. It happens
Right.
to everybody. So,
See, but the problem, like in your small town, the problem that people have is the people when people are uneducated, and that was one of the reasons I really was excited to do this series like this with you, is because it really educates the people as well. You know what I mean? Because you
yeah.
have a lot of people that follow you as well. And I'm not saying everybody's like that, but there's a lot of people out there that, once you're a criminal, you're a criminal. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they hear the word felon and they correlate it with fear. Like, oh, you were in prison. We need to be scared of you.
Right.
And then you're ostracized from that point
Right.
forward. Now, I'm not going to say that there aren't certain people that come out of prison that don't
Yeah.
need to be feared. There are. There are.
Right.
It would be silly to think that every single person that came out is a good person, but it would also be silly to think that every person's a good person, whether that be a doctor, a lawyer, a police officer, a school teacher, you know,
Yep.
anybody.
I
They're
agree.
all the same. I will advocate. I worked, when I was a deputy, I worked in the jail as well, because the jailers and the deputies were the same. Deputies were the jailers. And I was never scared. I was never once scared to go in the men's pod at all, because I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that there was enough men in that pod that respected women and respected their mamas, that if anybody, and it did happen, that if anybody stepped sideways to me, that they were going to pay for it when I walked off.
Right.
And it was just jail justice. That's what it was. And there was an instance, I'd gone back there, and there was one guy that was just complete. I mean, as soon as I walked back there, he was so disrespectful. Like, I mean, every sexual slur you can think of. And we called him the pod boss. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
um yeah, I'll
Just
never forget him. And I saw him out on the street um months later, and I just went up and I gave him a hug, and I said thank you, for defending me, in that sense. But he just walked over and told him, he was like, if you say another word, you're not gonna be able to talk. Like, and the guy shut up. Like, I mean, he knew. Like, and it's the same when I was at the
but
prison. I was
you see
never
that,
scared.
but you see this goes back to last week what we were talking about. Um, you know, you the compassion that you hold. When I tell you don't change who you are for nobody. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because this is the difference between law enforcement and law enforcement. Do you get what I mean? Like, you
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? There is a fine line with that, and that's the ugly truth behind it. There's a fine line with criminals. You have wholeheartedly just never don't care, I don't care, you know what I mean? And then, there's people that actually, they got a story behind their thing. And it's the same thing with police officers, you know what I mean? Like there's some guys that just have been bullied their whole life, and that's what we used to say when we're on the streets. I'm like, dude, that guy must have been bullied as a kid, the way he treated us. You know what I mean? That's
Mm-hmm.
what we would say, stuff like that. And it's like, you feel like that, or you have this. We used to be like, I mean, small man complex sometimes when get pulled over by a cop. I'm like, dude, why do you gotta act so tough? Like, it's not that serious, man. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's if you keep who you are and stay true to who you are, real. And this sounds stupid saying it, but real criminals that are respectful, that are gonna make those choices. Like, that cop was real respectful to me, man. No matter what, I made a mistake. You know what I mean? Like, they still treat me like a human. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like, I made a mistake, man. You know what I'm saying? And same thing,
Yeah.
like he was just saying when he was on the phone. You know what I mean? He made a mistake, and he's not a horrible person. He's you know, it's one of those type of situations.
We were talking, me and my daughter, my oldest daughter, the one I told you was in the National Guard, the other night. She and her friend were here, and we were having a discussion at our kitchen, and she said, I don't think that when people say, you know, deep down I'm a good person, that there is such thing as a deep down. And I was
Mm,
like, I don't know, man. I said, I disagree with you. And she was like, but I mean, if you want to be a good person, just be a good person. She was like, you don't have to say deep down I'm a good person while you're doing bad. And I understand where she's coming from, but at the same time, I told her, I said, back whenever I was doing wrong, deep down I was a good person.
yeah,
Deep down I was. And I was just living for myself and living in the world. But deep
yeah,
down, I knew who God really wanted me to be. I was just fighting it.
yeah,
So I
absolutely.
do believe that deep down exists, you know, and there's a lot of people in
And
prison that deep down are good people.
it might not even be deep down. That's the crazy
Yeah.
part. It might not even be that deep. It might be literally surface. You know, the
Yeah.
a lot of times, when I was doing wrong, I I had a side of me that, it seemed I had to have. Then, but most of the time, the compassion I had for others, that still was the same. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
obviously it didn't run as deep as it does today because my mind's clear.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm still the same person I was 30 years ago. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, I helped whoever I could help and along the way. And, but the only difference that changed is when I was, a full-time criminal, you have to do what you have to do to survive. You know what I mean? And that's the truth. That's the difference. It's kind of like when you're a cop, you have to, I would imagine you have to be a cop. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, like
Yeah.
when some of the stories we told last week, like, I have to take you to jail. It is one of those things. You know what I mean? As much
Yeah.
as it breaks my heart, because of the compassionate side of you, but at the same time, you have to do what you have to do this is what I signed up for, you
Yeah.
know? So,
You're
yeah,
right.
yeah,
You're
yep,
right.
yep, yep.